Good morning and welcome to Naomi's Scrappy Retreat. Thank you so much for joining me. There are 4 projects which can be made in, a couple of them can be made in multiple ways, and depending on what your style is, they could be made into tons of ways. So all of the materials that you need will be down below in the description, and that way you can craft along with me. Our first project will be this you can put a candle in it. You could put a light in it. It would be great with like little fairy lights inside of it. It will, you could put burlap or fabric in it and then put flowers. I showed you 2 of the ways that I did it, just so you could see. You will need 4 of these love signs at the Dollar Tree, and then just remove everything off the back of it. I just use scissors because you're really that's going to be on the inside, so you're really not going to need that. What I will tell you ahead of time, which you won't see now, is that you should sand first and paint the whole thing first, except for the edges that you're going to know that you're going to have the glue. Because I ended up painting later, which you'll see, and it was a bugger. So, right now, just line up your edges. And again, you could, painting it now would be easier. Painting the outside of it later is fine. It was easy. It was the inside that was the problem. I'm just trying to line up, see if anything coordinates. The other thing I want to tell you, and you'll see it after I get it all glued together. Now, I just used regular hot glue. I didn't have any wood hot glue, and just for purposes of the video, I did not take the time to use regular wood glue. So if you want a sturdier hold, I would suggest that if you're going to give it as a gift, sell it as a craft, definitely use a stronger glue than just the hot glue gun. So as you will notice, my mistake, nope, we don't make mistakes, we make happy accidents. I ended up making a rectangular box instead of a square box. So you will see here that I actually put that on the end of that love instead of on the inside to make a complete box. And after we put this side on, you'll see more of what I mean in just a second. So again, as you can see, I'm only placing glue where I know that it's going to touch. That way you don't waste hot glue and you don't have clumps of hot glue. Then you really just want to press those areas together and hold it for a minute. Now you will see here that there's a big gap and that they lean out a little bit. That's really not too much of a problem. I do have to go in later and add a little glue. But again, this is why if you did it on the inside instead of the outside like I did it, then you won't have this issue. However, it's totally up to you if you want to make it rectangular or if you want to make it more square. So here you can see that I have to now glue, so it's a little harder to glue because now I have to glue on 2 inside edges and figure out where everything lines up. But I get it. I figure it out. It's, again, it was a little happy sort of accident. I do like it because when you turn it sideways, on its side, or even if you're looking at it straight on, you can see the love sign, nothing else, on two sides. If you did it as a square, you would see the edge of a love sign whichever way you're looking at it. So again, you'll see it later as I lay it down to show you more of the idea that I had with it. Sorry, I couldn't figure out my words for the second. So I am going to try to squeeze these together and then get right back to you. So as you can see here, it is because I did make it in the rectangular, when you have it on one side, whether it's laying down or standing up, you will be able to just see the love. So like I said, that was my happy accident. You could make it rectangular or square, whatever is easier or best for you. I just used the Waverly White chalk paint and just went over all the sides, all the edges completely. As you can see here, I'm just finishing up the edge. Now I'm on the inside, and this is why I said it would have been better if I would have painted at least the inside parts first. because then I wouldn't have to try to reach down inside or paint the insides first, then paint the outside. Either way, I kind of painted myself sort of into a corner. So just excuse my head and my glasses and me trying to fiddle around with it because it was a bugger to paint. So just a warning to you to not do as I did. So before I started this section here, I actually needed to sand down the rough edges, that is why I suggested in the beginning that you do that first before you paint. Then that was just nutmeg paint from Apple Barrel, and I am just dry brushing the whole sign on the outside, not the inside, or even not technically the edges. I do get some on the edges, which is fine. It was still, I use that because it's a lighter color, but it is still much darker than what I wanted. So I will have to go back in a minute and you'll see, and dry brush in white. So I had too much on the brush when I started. Toward the end, you'll see it's much lighter in color, and that's the color that I wanted. So you could do this with a darker paint. You could do this with a black paint. You could also do this like with a red and do some sort of distressing. So as you can see, it is a lot lighter toward the end, but I still wanted to go in and give it some dry brush technique. All I did then was go in with some white Waverly chalk and just went around all the edges until it looked the way I wanted it to. I had some in the container for a little bit, and then I just kept dry brushing and dry brushing and dry brushing and again until it was what I want it to look like. It is sitting on my counter right now, and it is it's a very soft muted color. And if I would have thought about it, which I didn't do also, is I was originally going to distress the edges by sanding them, and I did not do that. That would have made this even better, but I don't know what happened. I just wasn't thinking about it. So you could put flowers in it. I put a vase with some beads in it to lift the flowers up. I really should have put more beads to lift the flowers up a little higher. Again, you could put all sorts of stuff in it. I laid it down the side, and it would be cute with some burlap in it with these lambs there hanging out of it. Just something really cute. So the next is just, we're taking this little sign, and I thought it would be cute because, you know, the secret of it is love. This was something I just kind of did real quick in the fall, so I'm just going to tear everything off of it. I also decided to take the excess paper off. So because I had to take the excess paper off, now you could totally use the back of this and be fine, but I wanted to keep the back as it was and just repurpose the front. So because it was coming off in a few areas, then I just did what I could to take that excess paper off. And then what that did do is give me an extra step. So I just got out some of the Dollar Tree spackle and then some sandpaper, just lightly roughed up the front edge that was shiny just for the paint to adhere better to. Then I also roughed up the edges where that paper had peeled up, just so the edge wouldn't be as obvious, I guess is the right word. But that's what the spackle's for. We're going to end up coming back in with the spackle to just lay some down on the cardboard that is more open, and then also to smooth in the edges that you see. And you'll see that here in just a second. Now that the edges have been smoothed and everything is dry, we're just going to go over this with about 1.5 coats to 2 coats, just the front of the white chalk paint. And again, this is your preference. You could use a different color, you could use plaster, you could use any other acrylic. This was just the color I chose. Now that I think about it, I probably would have done, I'm not sure because I wanted to do the Waverly wax, which I just, Waverly wax chalk. I can't even talk. I can't even think of what it's called right now. The brown, the one that looks like a stain. But now that I think about it, it wouldn't have probably looked right over that anyhow. So never mind, scratch that. So anyhow, this is just, again, just playing around with the colors and textures, trying to get it looking right. Just make sure that the plaster is dry, the compound is dry, the joint compound, because if you don't, it will come up and you'll see a couple little spots that weren't quite dry, which is what that little spot is right there that you see in front of you. And then I will go over another spot in a second and you'll see that as well. So now that the sign is dry, we're just going to take our little sign. I actually just put little pencil marks at the edges on the corners in a couple areas, just so that way I would know where to put the matte Mod Podge down. This really does stick well, but I wanted to make sure it was going to stay. So I put a layer of matte Mod Podge underneath. I did not put any on the top. So I'm just showing you my little tip of how to do this. You could also put matte Mod Podge on the top, which would also make it last longer. The other thing it will do is it will also take away the shininess of that sticker that you see, because that was one of the things I noticed when I got done with this project. There was a little bit more shine to it than I wanted, because I didn't, even though I'm going to dry brush this, I didn't dry brush this with over the whole entire surface, I guess is what I want to say. So now you're just putting it down, making sure your inside of your lines are as evenly spaced as possible. And again, you can put this on however you want. You could even cut this sign in half and put part of it at the top, part of it at the bottom, and then do something to the middle. So I did finally go in with that Waverly, I can't think of what it's called. Oh my goodness. And this is the second time. So it's the first time I've seen it at my Walmart, and it's the one that looks like a stain, acts like a stain. Sorry guys. I will try to think of it and say it in a little bit, but then that was too dark. So then I went back in with some of the Waverly white chalk paint just to tone down what it looks like. And then I'm taking these Dollar Tree hearts. I absolutely love these things. Oh my goodness. And I am just going to dry brush it with paint because when I saw this sign, I was like, I got to put one of these hearts with it. So because of how it turned out, I went ahead and you're not going to see it here, but I am going to add some more white chalk paint just to tone it down just even a little bit more. And then I'm going to add some white chalk paint to that heart and just cover the heart on the areas that you can see. And honestly, I wanted it a lighter dry brush. That was my fault. So depending on how you want it, you could do it dark. You could spray paint it. If you spray paint it, you could do whatever color you wanted. You could do that with any acrylic paint. Just letting you know, this is what I did. But there are so many options that you could do with this. And so I just love this. I love these hearts. They are they have a wire. If you haven't seen them, because they are very hard to find, they have a wire in them that is shaped in the heart, and then this wicker, whatever it is grapevine stuff is wrapped around it. So now I'm just taking the hot glue and just gluing that down, making sure to put a lot of glue on the surfaces that are definitely going to touch, because as you see, I'm going to not go all the way down on that heart with the glue, because it's not, the whole heart does not touch the surface when you put it down. And then again, just stick it down and hold it down for a second until it stays, and then that part of it is done. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to hang this, but I ended up using that country, it's this cute little country ribbon that I found. Usually with the florals, sometimes you can find it, sometimes you can't. Usually if I find it, I pick up one, or I usually pick up like two, just so that I'll have it. If there's hardly any there, then I usually only get one. It just depends. So I I don't know why I decided, but I decided to keep the jute hanger and then to sort of wrap this ribbon around it. It kind of worked, but it kind of didn't. The look is kind of neat hanging up, but it's not really the look I thought I was going for. So all I did was I just hot glued the two ends down, and then that was it. So I didn't. Sometimes I add extra reinforcement over the ribbon, so I'll add another ribbon over top of that, but I didn't do it this time. It's a very light sign, so I figured it would be just fine like it was. And then what you're going to see next is my attempt at making a bow. So I wasn't sure exactly how to do it, so I used the same ribbon again, and then I just used some jute and tied that in the center, tied it off in the back, which you can't see very well, and I apologize for that. But I tied it off in the back, and then and just clipped off the little edges left behind by it. Sometimes, and I did it here, I end up hot gluing the edges of the jute down just so it doesn't move. And then I clip the ends at an angle and quickly just used my lighter to burn a little bit of the edge. Because they are like a silicone, it does burn it, and if you do it real quick, it will keep it from fraying, and it will not burn. So, and then I just hot glued it to the top, and I thought it was so stinking cute, just like that. So, let me know what you think, and if you would have done something different. It is still darker than what I wanted, but I still like it. Like, it's hanging by my fireplace, and it is really, really cute. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. The next is just the easiest of all. I just took some very neutral colors from Dollar Tree and this onion grass, and my favorite flowers, some of my favorite flowers. There's, oh my goodness. There's like a peony and a runcula, and I'm not sure, some sort of wildflower. I can't remember what those were called either. I did not leave my tags on, and I wish now I would have, because I've used these types of flowers twice and I cannot think of what they are, but I love them. So all I did was stick them in a clear vase that has Dollar Tree beads in it, and these are Dollar Tree vase. And then I just made a cute little jute bow and put that on there, and that was it. That's all that this took. So again, you could use this for a sweet Valentine's Day bouquet, or you could use it in your home throughout the spring. It's just, they're very sweet, neutral, muted tones for Farmhouse. This is the last project. This is the one I'm most excited about. I just really love this. I love how this turned out. What I would say is, if you're going to make this for a gift or to sell, to definitely use more than just hot glue, because all I had was hot glue, so that is all I used. So you just need 4 of those arrows, this sign, but technically all you need is the little heart that's on it, and then just take the paper off the back, but leave that triangle or whatever's holding yours up on there, because you'll want to use that to stick off of your house when you get done making it. You will also need 4 blocks. You could use the Dollar Tree mini tumbling tower blocks, which I have, but I also had these generic Jenga blocks, so I'm going to use those just because they're a little bit bigger. And then that's it. So I am just getting my surface ready and putting my paper down so that we will paint. What I did do is that I started to paint, and then I was like, nope. And then I started to spackle, and then I was like, nope. I was all over the place though with this project. Like, I love how it turned out, but I was a mess. So you want to do both sides of these holes, the front and the back, and then you can use your finger, but honestly, I like to use something that has a flat edge to scrape it. You're not going to see this here because I'm realizing, oh, Naomi, you should have done something else first. But you will see that I am scraping it clear on the other side. And the reason I didn't on this side is because there was some rough edges around the holes. This is where I got smart and got my sandpaper out and went ahead and sanded the edges and the holes, especially the sides of the holes where there's going to be more rough edges. So I just went ahead and sanded all of the edges of these little arrows, and especially on the holes. You definitely want to make sure you sand where the holes are. I can't stress that enough, because you're going to have those little rough edges, and then that's why I'm gonna have to take sandpaper over my spackling that I put in those holes earlier on that one, because there was too many rough edges, and that is what excuse me, caused my spackle to stick up. Otherwise, the other side is perfectly flat because I used a flat edge, which is what I love to do. So now, as you see, I'm getting ready to sand off the edges of that one. So after everything is sanded and the holes have been covered, as you can see here, my holes, you can't see them. Like, all I did was I just smoothed it over. After everything was sanded, I just smoothed that into the holes with the flat, and I didn't have to do any sanding after that. Then I'm just using the Waverly's Antique Wax. I had to look because it's driving me crazy, so I just looked before I said this. Then I'm just doing a coat over all the edges and a very light coat on the sides. Then when I'm done, I'm going to go over it with just a tissue, just to take some of the excess stain off. But I love this stuff. Like, I love it. You could do this with stain. You could do this with paint. Obviously, my spackle isn't all the way dry, so just be careful to make sure it is all the way dry before you start painting. But this stain will actually stick in there, and it'll be fine. You'll see in a little bit. Um, you could also use acrylic paint and add water to it and use it like a stain. I have done that several times. Like I said, my Dollar Tree, my Walmart has not had this ever, and I was going through the other day and I saw this and I wanted to pick it up. So I wanted to try it out, see what it was like. So I do love it. I do recommend it. Um, that's what I have to say on that. The other thing, let's see, I said the other thing you can do is you can also take baby wipes or even regular, I forget the other wipes, but like a handy wipe that is wet, and dab that into your acrylic paint and then brush that on to your wood. That also makes a really great stained look. And it's really quick. It's also very easy. You can, that way you can use what you have on hand, especially if you have any type of baby wipe or handy wipe or anything that has a little bit of moisture to it. Now, the one thing I hadn't thought about is you might be able to use like a cotton ball that has water on it and use it that way as well. I haven't tried that. So I will try that one time and see how that works and let you know, or show you a video of it. If you've ever tried it, or if you have other staining type techniques that don't actually use stain, let me know. Put the comment down below in the comment section, because I would love to know, and I'm sure that there are other people who would like to know that as well. So again, I'm just giving the front and the back a coat of paint, or this antique wax, and then I'm just wiping it off with the tissue. I also coat the blocks that I'm going to be using in this wax as well. I don't have a video showing that, but you will see that I've coated all sides except for one, the side I'll be gluing to the back of that. And then I decided to go ahead and do the sticks as well, because the sticks are going to be the roof. These are I believe they're Dollar Tree craft sticks. So they're larger. They have a smaller pack and a larger pack, smaller sized and a larger size. These are the larger sized one. The smaller one didn't work. It was a little too small. What I will tell you before you start doing it is that make sure you cut your sticks first and then stain them. Again, I was doing things weird. So, and then make sure you measure. I actually wanted the end of the bottom to be round. I didn't want it to be square. So I had an original, I had a different idea, and then that didn't work out, but I'm still happy that I kept them rounded instead of squared. So that's why it looks like it does. What I can say too is that you want one edge to be a little longer than the other one because it will need to overlap at the top. And so you can cut these sticks. You just need to be a little gentle with them. If you hold them firmly, they don't crack. So just do teeny tiny little cuts. Don't do a big old cut because then it will crack for sure. If you're holding, now most of my ends that I cut off didn't crack. There was only two that did, but none of the pieces that I cut for the roof itself cracked. So if you hold it very firmly where you're cutting and then cut in small little sections, it will not, you won't have any issues of them splitting. So the last thing I did then was I just gave everything a dry brush coat of the Waverly white chalk paint. And and that was the last thing I did before I started the last procedure after I had to let everything dry. So I did my first one and forgot to video it. I put the edges and then put the heart on it. So what I'm going to show you, because I already stenciled them and then forgot to show you, is I just printed off H, M, and E, and it was just in a regular Microsoft Word font because I don't have anything else besides that. And then I just traced around that so you could see it on the word, on the wood. And then I used a Sharpie marker just to etch around the words. Um, I did this first. At first I was just gonna do that, but then the first one went well, and then once I did the other ones, it was a little. I just felt like it needed something a little darker. So I am just fast forwarding through this so that you can see that the first letter I actually did all of the letters with the Sharpie marker. Then after I got the Sharpie marker done, then I went back through and I went over everything with the Waverly chalk paint and ink, which is just a black color. So you could use any acrylic or anything that you wanted to use, but that's what I have on hand. So again, I just went over every letter that I had done originally with this chalk paint. Then once I was done, I had made sure that everything was lined up as much as possible. And then I just took my sticks. Remember I said one of them needs to be a little shorter and one needs to be a little bit longer. Somewhere along the way I messed up somehow, but I still made it work. So depends on which side you want it to be on. You just want to take one of them and put it on one side. So you're just going to pick up the edge of the roof. And again, if you want this to be for a gift, or if you want to sell this, I would definitely recommend using a different glue like a wood glue and letting it sit overnight. It would be hard, I think, probably to get something to press it together, but this super glue, oh my goodness, this hot glue does work. It just, it would last a bit longer if, you know, if you have cats or dogs or children in the house and they could bump things over, or, you know, just picking things up to clean it, it would just last longer. So just run your bead down, clean off the excess glue that you're going to have at the edges, and then do the same thing with the other side. This is the side that I'm using to actually overlap. So I was getting stuff all over me. Like the whole time I was getting stuff all over me. So as you can see, I picked it up, and when I picked it up, my hand hit the M that was still wet with the paint, and so I made a mess. So I left this in here so you can see that all crafters make a mess, but it's okay. It's our happy accident, and we can fix whatever we do. And it's not a mistake. We'll just fix it. It'll be okay. So as you can see, I'm running across the top of that popsicle and then down the edge again to put um, my other crafter stick on there. And again, I'm lining it up with the very back so it's flush with the back of it, and that way it overhangs all the way on the front of this little house. Now I'm just going to go in with some white paint because I tried to take care of my little paint boo-boo with just the antique wax, and it didn't work. So I went back in with white, made sure that that was all better, and then just added a few more strokes here or there to make it look like that's the way it was supposed to be. See, that's all it was. And then I just took the little stick, and I did not put it at the very bottom because I wanted these to not stand straight up. I want them to lean back just a hair. So about a 1/16 of an inch off the bottom, I put the that block so that way it's not flush on the bottom. That way the weight is laying back a little bit instead of forward. That way it doesn't make it as top heavy, and you don't have to worry about them toppling over as much. So just anytime you do something, just remember that. That way, I don't know. I like to do that. You can, if you do it even at a little bit less of a degree at the bottom, it won't even, it'll even lean a little bit less, but all your it just works better. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you do. If I made any confusion at all, please let me know. I thought those home little signs were so stinking cute. Thank you for making it through this video with me. I hope that you crafted one or two of them, and then just if you haven't subscribed, I hope you subscribe and share this. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your subscription. And I hope to see you guys again real soon. And be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Thank you.